Welcome to Medicaid Mastery, a cut above explaining the real long-term care Medicaid system.
You're listening to Medicaid Mastery with Antony Turbeville, Florida's go-to expert on long-term care Medicaid. I'm Evan Mack, and today we're answering a question many adult children are asking. Can helping your parents financially put their Medicaid eligibility at risk? This is how to help your parents without jeopardizing their Medicaid eligibility. Welcome back, Tony.
Thank you for having me. Good to be back.
Awesome. So if you help your parents financially, can it affect their ability to qualify for Medicaid? I think that's a question that a lot of people want to know when it comes to, how they're dealing with their parents in this situation.
It can. It's easily fixed. So, for example, perhaps you're giving money to a parent or paying their rent or paying their groceries or depositing money in the account. Medicaid can look at money going directly into their account or you're handing them cash as income, and that can create a problem. If you're paying bills directly for a parent, that's what's called a vendor payment, and it does not affect eligibility. But what can simply happen is when it comes time for Medicaid, the family member can just say, I can't help anymore and I'm not going to pay it anymore. And therefore that income goes away like any other income that might disappear, and then Medicaid can't count it. Now, what can also happen is a family member can buy a house for mom and put the house in mom's name, and then want to be able to sell it and get that money back. That can be a bit more of a challenge. It's certainly fixable, but it can be. Also, many times we'll see parents put kids on their accounts as a convenience, but we see the reverse as well, where the kid puts a parent on the account, and that one can take a little bit of unwinding. It's fixable, but it does create complications that need to be dealt with so that Medicaid does not count that asset as belonging to the parent and making the parent ineligible.
How do you get them through that though? How do they kind of, especially if they're trying to be honest and they're not trying to do anything like illegal or anything that could get things getting messed up though? How do you got to navigate that as far as like buying things like groceries or utilities and things like that?
So again, the groceries and utilities not an issue. That's a vendor payment. But where maybe a child has put a parent on their account, and let me say, I appreciate you saying that they don't want to do anything illegal. We're going to dot all of our I's, cross all of our T's, and the key with Medicaid is not to hide anything. Mm-hmm. Occasionally somebody will say, well, I want to hide my assets, or we don't have to tell them that. There's no way they'll ever know. Mm-hmm. And I would just say ethically, that ethics, I'll dictate to somebody, right? Ethically, it's wrong. Legally, it's wrong. And I'm not going to help anybody commit Medicaid fraud. Now, the good news is there's so many ways to fix things that there would be no reason to commit fraud, even if you were willing to, right? Mm-hmm. It's all fixable. So back to the account, perhaps that child put parent's name on, it's got $100,000 in it, and Medicaid's going to count that $100,000 against mom. Well, what we have to do is we have to go back and prove where the money came from. And if the child can prove that they put the money in the account and then sign an affidavit saying that it was put on the account for convenience, estate planning, in case they died, they wanted the mom to have the money or something along those lines, whatever's the truth, then Medicaid will generally say, okay, it wasn't her money. We get it was a convenience issue. And then they don't count it towards the parent.
We touched on it a little bit, and we kind of talk about different things that happen with home and mortgage, but can a child take over a parent's mortgage or property taxes without causing any issues in what we're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely they can. So again, that goes to a vendor payment. It's basically when money's going directly to the parent in their hand in cash or going into their bank account. Now it's an income, and any income that doesn't get spent in that month and rolls over also becomes an asset. But paying the mortgage, paying the water bill, paying the electric bill, buying groceries directly from the grocery store, all those things are considered vendor payments and do not count as income.
So what's your family's understand about documentation and the intent when helping out? How important is, that proper documentation?
Well, it's certainly cleaner if it's done on the front end. So if let's say a parent is living with a child and paying the child decides to help pay expenses. Well, it's better to structure that as rent than it is to give it to the child. Okay, I'll just give you the money and you use it to pay the bill. Now we have something that we've got to retroactively paper up. And I want to be careful that nobody misunderstands that as to say backdating, because backdating would be fraudulent, right? Mm-hmm. But what happens is you get both sides of the transactions to sign affidavits. So in other words, the child signs an affidavit that says, look, Mom and I had an agreement that she was going to pay $1,500 a month to be able to live there to help with the expenses. So it was a rent, right? And the mother says, yes, I agreed to do that. And so both sides of the transaction are saying this is really a rental income, and it was a verbal contract. And because verbal contracts are enforceable in Florida, then Medicaid honors that. And again, I am not an attorney. I'm not giving legal advice. I'm telling you how this gets dealt with and put through the system. Whether it should be done or not in a particular situation is for the attorney and family to decide together.
So how can a Medicaid planning expert or someone like you or anybody that understands this help audit children, avoid unintentional like disqualifications?
It's like it always is. It's get good counsel before you apply for Medicaid. And here's something that's really important to know. If you go apply for Medicaid and say, I'll just see what happens, and certain things come up that you didn't think about, it's much harder to go back and unwind it later on in a later application, because you may say something in application 1 that contradicts application 2. So now Medicaid gets to say, well, wait a minute, which one's the truth, right? So you need to go talk to somebody who knows what they're doing, like myself, or an attorney who really does a lot of Medicaid. And listen, let me say this. There are a lot of attorneys out there who say we're elder law attorneys and we do Medicaid. And they may be. That does not mean they're immensely experienced in it, right? They can hang out their shingle. Now, there is a segment of attorneys called certified elder law attorneys. The initials behind it is CELA. They call themselves CELAs. They are more experienced oftentimes than somebody that just hangs out elder law. But none of them that I'm aware of have done more than 17,000 cases and put them through the Medicaid system. So in my opinion, and I am biased, you should have a Medicaid application service similar to Platinum or Platinum that has the on the ground, everyday trench experience of getting applications through the system, along with an attorney who can analyze the legal aspects of it and make sure the family's not falling in a trap. But get your advice ahead of time before the application is made. It's just incredibly important. It is the way to avoid problems.
Tony, do you advise people on who to get as far as legal counsel? Do you have people that you trust that you would recommend, or do you give them suggestions? Is that part of what you do?
Absolutely. We have 4 or 5 attorneys that we work with virtually every month, right? We refer to all of them. The client can choose anyone they want. In fact, just to be clear, I'll work with any attorney. If the client has a family attorney that they've been dealing with for 30 years and they want me to deal with that attorney, I'm happy to do that. And I'm happy to educate and walk that attorney through some of the things we do, explain it to them so they can help advise their client. If the client would prefer to just use somebody that already knows what's going on, we'll give them those several attorneys. They can pick whichever one they want. Call them. They will know who we are, what we do. They'll understand the strategies that we're comfortable getting through the system. They can talk to the client and, advise them on which one to pursue. And then, of course, we'll follow their instruction. So, yes, we've worked with multiple attorneys for decades now, literally.
So what's the filial responsibility rule, and does it apply to every state?
So there are some states that have laws that say you have a legal responsibility to financially and physically, in some cases, support family members. So in theory, Medicaid can sue a child and say, hey, you really need to help your family member. Florida, to my knowledge, again, I am not an attorney, does not have that. I have never seen the state of Florida pursue any type of anything from a child. Now, there are times where a child may have been given large sums of money or taken large sums of money in a way that doesn't work for, quote, Medicaid planning, and the state has a right to pursue to get that money back. Again, I have never seen them do it, but they do have that ability. But that's different because they took or received in some manner the parent's money, and now the state has the right to say, well, give them their money back because you're costing us money, right? But Florida's really pretty bad at pursuing that as well. Not that they should be; they probably should pursue those, but they don't.
What about your what about the kid's future? Can helping your parents like impact your own financial or legal future later? Will that come up? Is like literally because you're literally trying to put your parent into a good situation and make sure they're comfortable, but can that mess with you down the road?
Well, sure. So if you're putting out $2,000 a month to help mom or dad pay for assisted living, that $2,000 a month is coming against your retirement. Now, ideally, the way it's done is if the parent has some money, let's protect the money and then use the parent's money to help pay those expenses along with Medicaid or VA benefits if they qualify for those, so that it makes that money last much longer. Let me give you an example. Let's say assisted living is $5,000 a month, and the parent has $2,200 a month in income, right? So 5,000 less 2,200, that's a $2,800 shortfall. They got 50 grand in the bank. Okay, so they're going to maybe about 19 months or so that they would be able to pay that shortfall in the assisted living. Well, if they get Medicaid, and Medicaid now kicks in about 1,800, now we're only short 1,000. So now we can go, roughly 50 months that we can stay in that assisted living without the child having to reach in their pocket and supplement it. They're reaching in the pocket that was made available by, mom having 50 grand in the bank. And let me clarify something I could have made confusing. Mom can't qualify for Medicaid with 50 in the bank, right? But we can take that 50 in the bank, shift it to the child in a way that doesn't interfere with the Medicaid, get the Medicaid. Then mom has 2,200 a month plus 1,800 a month from Medicaid. And then the child takes in from that 50 that came from mom and puts 1,000 with it. So there's the 5,000 a month for the assisted living, which gives us 50 months instead of 19. So we've increased the length of time they can stay there by 2.5.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So what's your advice? I always ask about it, in each of these episodes. What's your advice to someone supporting aging parents who might need Medicaid soon?
Good advice. I have a dog in the hunt, as they say down here in Central Florida. I make $1 if somebody hires me, but even if they choose to hire somebody else, it is just so important that they get good quality advice from somebody who does this all the time, that knows how the system works and knows all the little nuances and caveats to maximize the money that gets protected.
Tony, you think you're the best at what you do, sir?
I don't want to come across as egotistical. I really don't. But yes, sir. I don't know anybody that knows this like I do. And I don't know anybody that has the staff, the software, because it's all custom built. There's no commercially available software to track all this stuff and keep up with it. So between myself and my team, there's just nobody better at it. And we do counsel many attorneys around the state on what's available to their clients. So we'll have some of those attorneys that have the elder law, right? But they're wise enough to know, hey, I don't know everything, so I will practice elder law, but I'll reach out to Platinum as the everyday experts on how to get this stuff through the system. And they work with us, and that is just a winning combination for the client.
Sensational. Tony, thank you so much, sir.
You're so welcome. Thank you, and good to see you again.
Good to see you. And thank you all for joining us on Medicaid Mastery. To learn more and connect with Tony, visit platben.com. That's PLATBEN.com. Do not forget to subscribe, share this episode, and leave us a review. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.